Yes, we are here. We are here. We are here. We want to say welcome again. Welcome again. Welcome again. If you are here with us at the A Journey from Low to Overflow podcast, let us know that you're here. Let us know that you are here. Greet us today. We want to see you. We are excited again. We are excited about being here at this wonderful podcast. Thank God I see you. Hello, hello. I see you. I see you guys coming in. I see you all coming in. Blessings. Yes, my friend all the way from New York, Cynthia. She's up here as Peyton. Andy, blessings, blessings, blessings. Oh, my other sis, Lynette Garrell, Wilfong, grace and peace. We love you guys so much. Please share and let somebody know that we are online. Let somebody know to come hear such powerful conversation today. I'm excited. I'm telling you, I'm excited today because we're going to be talking about some powerful things, some powerful things. Happy, happy Monday. Yes, yes, Orlando is here. Happy Monday. We are going to be talking and sharing about the response was due to what was buried in me. And we're just going to, this is what we do. We talk, we share. We just allow God to heal us through this medium, and I'm so excited about what God is going to do. I'm excited about the way we are sharing today. I'm so excited. Our Pastor Sharice, bless him. We see you. We see you. We see you. So we're not going to prolong the time. I'm excited. Yes, 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 yes. Grace and peace. I'm excited. I'm going to bring on another daughter in the Lord. I'm telling you, she is a powerhouse. She's amazing. I love her ministry. I love what she does. I love uh, all of what she has to offer to the body of Christ and just to humanity overall. And she's going to be talking. We always talk about so many different wonderful things, and now we're going to share it abroad. So I want y'all to show some love, show some love, show some love to our very own Pastor Patricia Ewing. Show some love. Here she is. How are you? How are
Blessings.
goodness, so good as usual to see you. It is so good to
Mm,
see you as usual. You know how we do. We just every time we get to talking, things just begin to happen, and
yes,
just when I tell you, it is absolutely amazing how the Lord has brought you through so much, and not only that, how we were reconnected some years ago. I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited. Yes, yes, yes. So we're here tonight to we had a wonderful podcast thus far. This is our podcast. I'm excited, and so now we are about to touch base on some things. But before we do, for those that may not know who you are, why don't you give us a little bit about who you are and what you do and your background and what you represent? Talk to us. Talk to us. And yes, thank you, Yolando. Subscribe to the YouTube page under Deetra Hill.
amen.
Definitely subscribe and yes, yes, yes. I appreciate those that are helping me push this thing forward as we become acclimated to this new wave of movement in the name of the Lord. But tell us about who Pastor Patricia Ewing is.
Well, first and foremost, greetings to you all. I bless God for this awesome opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Dietrich Hill, aka Mother. I am just excited about what God is doing and moving further into who am I? Woo, where do I start? Where do I start? I often say it's not enough hours in the day for the titles that I wear. But
Mm,
for starters, I am a wife of 20 years and a mother to three beautiful daughters, and pastor, teacher, coach, mentor, um, former employee of New York City government, served there for 12 years back
mm,
home, in my native home of Brooklyn, New York. I am also a current business owner for
Mhm.
Shekinah Glory Home Child Care, which I have effectively, under the grace of God, have ran for 15 years,
Mhm.
rearing over 60 children out of my home. So that is a blessing I see awesomely that God has allowed me to do. And also, I am the owner and manager with my husband of a food truck business called Jerkman Island Cuisine out of Raleigh, North Carolina. We currently own and operate 3 trucks. And
Mm.
we just thank God for the expansion. And we have been doing this for 6 years now.
Wow.
And um, that's pretty much it for now. I'm thinking anything else.
Yeah, I already know how your life is set up. I know how your life is set up. I know how your
Yes.
schedule is, but I'm so grateful that God will, He always allows us opportunity to make sure we are able to share, impart, and laugh,
Yes.
and just so many wonderful things to be an added blessing to humanity. So you're doing a
Yes.
awesome work. By the way, that food is so good. That food is
Thank you.
amazing.
That's that Jamaican man of
Yes,
mine.
it
Thank you.
is delicious. I had the opportunity to taste it myself, and it is
Thank
amazing.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
So we're
you.
gonna delve right on in, so the people of God um, can just kind of be blessed, and certainly we welcome your comments and even questions if we are able to check it out and see it. Look what the Sharice she said yeah, she says she says awesome food.
That's my sissy.
Yes,
That
yes,
I said, boy, she is my cheerleader. When I say I said that's my girl.
yes,
If I'm coming
yes.
through, she on the line. I
Mhm.
love her.
She's amazing. She was a blessing to us last week, and I'm just
Yes.
so grateful to have such awesome women of God that the Lord has allowed me to embrace it and just be a blessing. And likewise, you guys are a blessing to me. And we have
And we love
decades.
you.
We have
Yes.
decades. And that's what I love about God. We have so many years together from doing this thing. So we are blessed. So the topic for today is the response was due to what was buried in me. Mm,
Mm.
mm, mm. I don't
Wow.
know about nobody else, but there's a lot that we bury within that causes us to react, causes us to respond in such negative
Mm.
connotations, changes our attitude, changes our
Absolutely.
personality. And so I have a quote that kind of like correlates with what we're going to be talking about, and I've been inspired to write this book. This is how the podcast was even inspired, a journey from low to overflow. And this says overflow in abundance. You can go to Amazon and get it. And it's not a long read, but it's a strong read of what you need to take
Yes.
your time and read it and really find some healing components in this book. I absolutely praise God for that. But in the one of the excerpts says in this, and it says in this process it is essential to embrace vulnerability. Acknowledging our pain and struggles allows us to connect more deeply with others who may be experiencing similar challenges. And you know that all too well. The Lord has brought you through so much, and now
Yes.
you are an advocate to heal others by everything that you've done and everything that you do. 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, God's grace is sufficient of his and for his power is made perfect in our weakness. And so
Yes.
we are just so excited about that. But now we're going to start and ask you a couple of questions here. What type of responses did you project that made you feel, you know what, something has to change with me? So in life, going through all that you've contended with, what responses, type of negativity, or just share with us where you were that you projected that made you feel that something had to change.
I would have to say the negative
Mhm.
um feedback that I was getting from what I was putting out. Um I like to say it like I was living off of repeat,
Mm.
living off of repeat in terms of unhealthy, unsafe.
Mm,
emotions,
mhm.
not just unhealthy, but also unsafe,
Yeah.
because I often exploded um, in my
Mm.
temper,
Okay.
um,
Okay.
from
Yeah.
holding so much within. So, unhealthy, unsafe emotions, unhealthy outcomes, toxic relationships, twisted perspectives, how I
Mm.
look out at things.
Yeah.
And when I saw that I was living off of repeat in all of those areas, I said, something has got to change.
Yeah. Yeah. That's powerful. That's powerful. And so when you said something has got to change, we talked, because we talk about everything.
Yes.
We talked about something you said to me as it relates to treasures. You use a great analogy regarding treasures. I want you to break that down for our listeners today about those treasures.
Yes. I was one day I was just thinking, and it's like God had just dropped this whole, vision before me,
Hmm.
about how often in life we go through our process, we go through our journey.
Hmm.
And I think we quite naturally do things like you want to see a movie, right? So you'll skip to the end just to kind of see what it's about. You want to read a good book, right? So you skip even in the middle towards the end. You don't kind of deal with the beginning as so much because we're so eager to see what the expected end is going to be. And
Hmm.
so in this particular vision that I had, I thought, well, wow, we go through our lives, go through journeys in our lives, and this was the vision I actually had,
Hmm.
that as individuals, we get to this huge treasure chest. I saw this huge treasure chest at the end of
Hmm.
this road, and it almost reminded me of the Wizard of Oz. You they were looking for things that were already was in them.
Yeah.
And when this individual, they finally had gotten to the end of this road to this huge treasure chest, and they popped it open, just looking for these jewels to be there, feeling, wow, I made it, only to find it was empty.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
was like, wow. You know what I mean? The same, same statement. I was like, well, God, why was it empty?
Hmm.
You would think we would come through so much and you would get to the end of this journey. Why was that treasure chest empty?
Hmm.
And God's dropped it in my spirit. He said, because what it is that when you go through your different experiences in life and when you learn of your different experiences in life, the jewels that you are actually looking for to be in that treasure chest are actually within you.
That's it.
And
That's it.
so the vision switched. Now I'm no
Mhm.
longer seeing an individual who's exasperated getting to the end of this journey, into this road, and opening up an empty treasure chest. But now the vision flipped, and I see another individual who probably is the one who learned, who gets to the end, flips open the top of this treasure chest, and the jewels begins to flow out of them
Mm.
and fill the chest.
Mm. 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 Mm.
And I said, my God.
Wow.
And
That's
he said to
powerful.
me,
That's
if you
powerful.
grab what you need to learn while you're on your journey, you'll realize that it is already
Mm.
within you.
It's already in you. That's phenomenal. And that is something that I constantly remind us. I remind us that everything that we need is on the inside of us. Oftentimes
Absolutely.
we so often continue to look on the outside of ourselves to fulfill voids, to
Yes.
fill voids. But the
Yes.
treasure and the answer of whatever it is that we need, God has placed that thing on the inside of us. And that's the true treasure. It doesn't have to come from the outside of us. It's not in another person. It's not in our children. It's not for something that our spouses can fulfill for us.
Come
But
on.
it's from
Out.
the inside out. And once we tap into that understanding, it changes the trajectory of our world.
Absolutely.
So that analogy right there blessed me so
Praise
much.
God. Yes. Yes.
So I'm going to ask you another question. Sometimes after going through so much in life, right?
Yes.
We feel lost and you don't quite feel the same, things are not the same. After you've realized now, okay, I need to change. And now that
Mhm.
I'm changing, and now that I'm growing, and now that I'm evolving, I have to adjust to this new way, to this new change, to this new life. Tell me
Mhm.
about that. Tell me about that.
You know, any adjustment in life can be challenging,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because this is how I look at it. Have you ever had a piece of furniture that sat in a specific place in your home for a long time
Mhm.
and you move it?
Yeah.
You see the markings still on the floor or either in the rug. It may dissipate after a while, but it's there for a good while.
Mhm.
And that is because it's been sitting there for a long time. Well, that is how I equivalate to being able to adjust to change in our lives. You've
Yeah.
been in a place of doing something so long that even if it's toxic, it's your
Mhm.
norm.
Mhm.
And a lot of times, even though we're operating in a toxic situation, it's our norm.
Yeah.
And I know what I'm talking about because I'm firsthand of that, and you
Mhm.
grow to laugh about it, and you talk about it, and though while you're laughing and talking about it, maybe in the latter, or in the former of it, in the latter of it, you may have had days where you were crying about it because it was anything but normal. And
Mhm.
so adjusting to something new is a challenge.
Mhm.
It's now I've got to listen, it's that statement that we say, I know what I have. I
Yeah.
know what I'm working with, but I don't know what I'm going to get. And I don't know, watch this, what new challenges I'm going to have to face. And I
Wow.
don't know if I'm going to be able to conquer these new challenges.
Mhm.
So a lot of times that's why people run back to the old
Yeah.
relationship, old houses, old neighborhoods. We see it every day.
Yeah.
You get famous, you get new, you go back to the old block. And
Mm.
and a lot of times when you go back to the old block, people ain't with you until you back down where they are.
Mm.
And so
True. That's true.
that's how I look at
Yeah.
the adjustment. Now watch this. Thinking about adjustments, you talk about adjusting to the new norm and coming out of the toxic norm that we consider to be a healthy norm, but
Mm.
that is because that's the way we've been grown to know it to be. You don't realize that you're now in a place where, hey, listen, you know, a new change is trying to take place in my life, but I am so stuck holding on to the old, I don't recognize the new. In
Mm.
fact, new becomes, watch this, strange change to me.
Mm.
And so it brought me, if I could use for an example, or it brought me to the movie I watched some years ago, many years ago, with 50 Cent.
Mhm.
I think it's called uh, Get Rich or Die Trying, Get Rich or Die Trying, something like that. Some of you may have seen it, but it was a phenomenal movie about how he was trying to come out of the old life,
Yeah.
and he was trying to pursue his passion as a rapper. And in the midst of that, he wound up getting shot up. And
Mm.
after he got shot up, he went back to his passion to try to continue to pick up where he left off after he had gotten shot. Now, mind you, after he got shot, he'd now, I believe, he got wires in his jaws. He his
Yeah.
everything was not the same. So he didn't talk the same. He didn't rap the same. Nothing
Right.
was the same. He was anything but the same. It was strange change, right?
Mhm.
And here's the part that blessed me in the movie. God, anybody knows me, I love movies. And so, uh,
I
and so
love using that
I,
analogy.
I
Always
do. I get
oh,
I
yeah,
get deep
good revelation.
inspiration from
Yes.
movies that give me such great revelation. And so here's the part that blessed me. When I'm watching a good movie, anybody who's with me be like, oh, that's the part right there. Woo, that's it right there. Write that down. And so anyway, here's the part that blessed me. He goes back into the studio. He's rapping again. He's getting it, and he got frustrated, and he looked at his girlfriend. I think her name was Charlene, and he said it don't sound the same. It don't sound the same. He was frustrated,
Yeah.
and she looked at him, and she said, "Of course not. There's more pain in it."
Mm.
That blessed me.
Mm.
Why? Why?
Mm.
Because what she was saying to him was, you had just come through an enormous challenge, first and foremost, to live.
Yeah.
And now you got to live differently
Mhm.
than what you have known to be normal. And to him, it was not the same. He
Yeah.
didn't know if this could be productive for him because he was used to sounding the same.
Yeah.
And to me, is that familiar with us? You
Mhm.
think you can't do it in this next relationship because you're used to being with someone who abuses you through
Mhm.
verbal conversations and or by way of hand or insults or whatever it may be. And so you don't know what the new is going to bring for you because you just been through so much in this challenge. I don't know if I can handle the new challenge. I done been through so much hell in the old challenge. I don't know what's in this thing in the new for me.
Mm.
And so when she said this, and here's the part, there's more pain in it. When you are able to overcome your testimony and get past that, you learn through your pain what your real purpose is.
Mm. That's
Your
it.
purpose, you see what I'm saying? It gets
That's it.
heightened through your pain. You know how they teach you in the business
That's
world?
it.
What's your why?
Yeah.
When you know your
Yeah.
why and you cry over your why, oh, you're
Mm.
gonna go after that thing with all you got.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yes,
That's
making
powerful.
adjustments are not easy
Yeah.
because we often get stuck on the indent of where the furniture of whatever it may be used to be. And we
Mm.
run back to it because it looks empty and something needs to be there
Mhm.
instead of waiting on the new furniture to come in.
Mm. I saw a comment and I think it got away from me, but Yolanda was saying basically we become acclimated to beautiful disasters.
Ooh,
We
that's
we
good.
become so
That's good.
acclimated to beautiful disasters. Um,
Wow.
and that's the truth. We are afraid to shift. We are afraid to change because it's not familiar. And that is one of the main tricks of the enemy that he uses to
Yes,
keep us bound, to keep us
facts.
happy. But that adjustment, learning to adjust your life and not being afraid to try something new. Because the truth of the matter is you become super passionate over what it is that you've gone through. Once you've overcome it, the fact that you've overcome that thing
That's right.
becomes such a joy. There's such a victory that you want everybody to know. You want everybody to know how free you are. You want everybody to know that God has
That's
delivered you
right.
from something so serious. And then He has a way of creating something because we are creatives. So He has a way of creating something within and shifting it and changing it to adjust. So we can adjust. We can adjust our lives. We can shift. We can change. And out of that, we become better.
We
We
do.
become better. This is a, ooh, Lord have
We
mercy.
do. We do. That's a personal testimony for
That's
me.
a personal, yes, I know. I'm sure it is.
That's a
Um,
personal testimony.
yeah, yeah. So the response was due to what was buried in me. So much that was buried in us. As you are learning, you know, how to change your response, how to free yourself, how to be delivered, as you're learning all these things, do you find yourself ever having trigger points? And what can you do to make sure your response is still intact with those trigger points? You have those trigger points. How often does it come? And what do you do
Hmm.
to try to keep those responses intact?
Anybody knows me. One of my biggest statements that I always make is you have to study your storm.
Mm,
And for me, that was what I had to do, Dr. Hill. I had to study my storm. I had to see, where was I on this barometer? Why is it that I often exploded? Why was I always so defensive. What was it that kept me, at this place? I remember as a little girl, in elementary school, I got into it. You ever have one of those fights you never forget their names? And her name was Sherry Ann. Oh, wow, beat Sherry Ann to a pulp. She and I got into it, I'm telling you. And and I'm getting to a point with this, and we got into it so bad. The fight went all the way into the dean's office, and we were going at it, and to the point where, and here's the thing, it started because she called my mother out of her name.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't so much, so don't talk about my mother,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a trigger point for me, because at the time my mom was incarcerated,
Mm-hmm.
and I was going through something. I felt lonely. I had all kind of emotions bottled up inside of me. And so the fact that she had made a negative statement about my mom, who was already absent in my life at that time, it triggered such an enormous, monstrous emotion in me that I could not come back to school until I saw a psychiatrist. It took three men and one woman to
Wow.
get me off
Wow.
of her. They held me
Wow.
down by my hair. And again, we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
trigger points as far as how bad it can explode
Yeah.
in your life, to where it can touch just about everything around you. You can have trigger points that can explode and touch good things in your life.
Yeah.
And you didn't mean for it to, but because you've got these trigger points on the inside of you. And so when that happened, I had to see a psychiatrist, because what they said was, there's something deeper going
Yeah.
on inside of you
Yeah.
to make you respond. That we've seen kids fight, but not the way you beat that girl. You almost killed her.
Mm.
And that it was because I had all of this anger
Mm-hmm.
bottled up inside of me, which, by the way, followed me all the way into adulthood.
Yeah.
So it didn't stop there.
Mm-hmm.
It was a continued process, a continued imploding, exploding, imploding, exploding. I was
Mm.
just back, and I was Dr. Jekyll and Hyde with the
Yeah.
explosives. So when I think about those trigger points, as you mentioned, how was I able to deal with it and trace it back to what the issue was? Well, they say you can't judge a fruit until you trace the root. I
Mm-hmm.
really had to take the time to look within my life to see what was it that allowed me to travel down this lane of being so angry.
Yeah.
And I told you, Dr. Hill, some of my testimony, when I began to match them up like a puzzle, and
Yeah.
I began to see almost like a dominoes effect. It's like, oh, okay, so this is why. Okay, I see. So that's why. So, in other words, I had to study my storm. I had a continued Euroclydon
Mm.
going on in my life. And anybody don't know what a
Jesus.
Euroclydon is? It is an uncontrolled storm of winds that come from every which way. And that is pretty much how my life was. And until I got to the place of studying my storms, which, by the way, came from another movie that I watched called
Tell us about how that worked.
I'm hot.
No, you
Y'all know
gonna
I love movies. I love movies.
it's
But real quick, I was, twisted. It's actually where I got the topic, study your storm. I'm like, oh yeah, that's real good. I see. But I used to say, you got to trace the root. But I watched this movie one time, and a town of people, they would often leave because this storm would come into town. It was a norm for them. Okay,
yeah.
they knew the storm was coming. Everybody would knew to pack up and leave this town because they could not fight this storm. This storm would rip up everything in the town, and no one ever challenged it. I
Wow.
think it was a young lady and a young guy who began to challenge this storm, and they did what you call chase the storm. They
Mhm.
chased it back to its origin, as to where it came from, why it would come. Watch this. You can look at your own life with this. Where did it come from? What
Mhm.
was its purpose for showing up? And what season did it always show up in? Has it ever been you?
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Around the holidays, I would get so sad, Dr. Hill, and I couldn't understand why. Certain times of the month, year, I would get really just when my birthday come, I would get so downtrodden and just irritable. And my husband used to say to me, I think one year he said to me, "Babe, I'm proud of you. This year you didn't go there." And then when I started making comparing notes, oh, okay, because I started dealing with what was going on inside of me. I was at a place of missing my mom, missing my grandmom, and just feeling really lonely. And I
Yeah.
realized tracing it and or chasing that storm, just like they did in that movie, where it came from,
Mhm.
what was its purpose for showing up, what season did it often show up in.
Mm, mm.
So
And I
yes,
hear that. I hear that often, where people
yeah,
say at a certain season they get sad. At a certain season, this happens. At a certain season, and I think what it is. Yes, this is good. What Elder Donzella just said. She said, yeah. She said you identified that storm. And I
yes,
think that's the key right there. The key is to be able to identify, because we subconsciously know something is happening and we just kind of let it flow in that way, and then we just say, well, this is just the way it is.
it
As
becomes your norm.
right, it becomes your norm, as opposed to saying this has to stop.
It has to.
It has to stop. So that's powerful as it relates to, like you said, the storm and identifying it and becoming aware, and then taking the time to say, I have to do something to get this out of my life. I have to really ask God to remove this from my life. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, did you want to add some more on to that? That is just so good as it relates to how you were moving forward now towards identifying when this storm was coming, and when did you notice that it started to get better, started to get better.
I think that when you, as you stated, when you start to identify your storm, right? So now at this point, you have to start looking at the different walls and fences that are in your life,
Mhm.
right? So for me, I had to examine where I was in my life, what brought me to this place. What was it that I was so guarded over in my life?
Mm,
There are many walls and there are many fences in life, right? Some
mhm.
of them are negative and some of them are positive. I think it is a natural, just a natural thing that we do, or the mechanism of being able to, to protect ourselves, to respond to any sort of trauma or things that happen to our lives. I think that we build walls, right?
Yeah.
We build walls to keep things out. And then when we keep things out, we don't realize that though I am moving into protecting me, not only am I keeping things out, but I'm also incarcerating me in. I'm also,
Mm.
I'm setting up boundaries, for things to no longer hurt me, because
Mm.
I've been hurt.
Yes. Yes.
Excuse me.
It's okay. It's okay. This is amazing. This is so good.
But then in the process, you don't realize that you are also binding yourself.
Yeah.
You are also um secluding yourself, you're also incarcerating, all of the above. You're separating yourself, you're protecting yourself so much. I
Mm.
remember, again, I watched the movie where a young lady drew chalk around where she was and she would never step outside of that chalk. It took for a really bad situation for her to step outside of that chalk. I
Mm.
believe it was to save her life or to save a life of another. Sometimes we draw chalks around us to
Wow.
protect us, but don't realize at the same token, it is holding us prisoner to
Mm.
our past, holding us prisoner to the things that caused us pain.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
believe that I really started to study my storm because I realized that I had a lot of walls up
Mhm.
and very few fences.
Mhm.
And I say walls and fences because you cannot see through a wall,
Mhm.
but you can somewhat see through fences. And remember what I said, it's okay to have walls up sometimes. You just got to know the season and the reason and the time when you have these walls up, right?
Mhm.
There's a reason for them. Same water that softens, same water that hardens. You have to know the season and times to use it. But if you are just so focused on everyone hurting you and how you've been betrayed and everyone's an enemy and everyone's after me and I'll never trust anyone or nothing else again, you will concrete yourself into something and never step outside of those walls. It would probably have to take a detrimental situation for you to step outside of it. So why fences? Because with fences, there's somewhat in a way where it is a sort of protection, but you can still see on the other side of it. You
Mm.
know, you can decide as to whether or not you're going to let this particular situation in. When you have a wall up, it can't see you and you can't see it. And a lot of times you don't realize how you barricade yourself behind that hurt. And you don't realize what God may have for you on the other side. He may have something for you on the other side saying, "Come on, I need you to come out from behind that wall." But you're steady screaming, "Lord, I can't."
Mm.
I have been hurt so much. I don't trust nobody. I am
Yes.
afraid that if I come from behind this wall, they're going to do it again.
Mm.
Someone's going to hurt me again. I can't do it. No, Lord, I can't do it. I'm going to stay here where it's safe. I'm
Mm.
safe,
Mm. Mm. Mm.
but I'm also secluded.
Mhm.
I'm safe,
Mhm.
but I'm also separated.
Mm.
I'm safe,
Mhm.
but I'm also living a life of loneliness,
Yeah.
thus imploding and exploding
Mhm.
continuously like that Euroclydon wind or
Yeah.
storm over and over again. So
Yeah.
I owed it to myself, Dr. Hill, to search out and see why is it that I continue to deal with this particular storm. And I started realizing the many walls that I did have up in my life and not too many fences because I don't trust easy.
Mhm.
But I had a lot of walls up and I'm not completely there. I believe that healing is a continued
Yeah.
process
Absolutely.
because it's like a rose, it has layers.
Yeah.
And so I'm learning. I read something that says we often build walls and then somewhere we forget to break them.
Mm.
That the same way you're building them to protect yourself, at some point you've got to bust out of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would
And
say
that
that it would have
that's
to be yes.
that's my. I'm gonna look at a couple of these statements. Um. Wow. Yeah. Kanika says, "This is good. Good. Yeah. Mhm. Yes, Lord. Build fences. That's good. Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. You have
Yeah.
to guard yourself. So that's what the fence does. The Word of God talks about guarding your heart. So we understand we have to guard ourselves, but you just can't be so
Yeah.
in case you can't be so incarcerated so you don't come out. So
Yeah.
it's a
Sharice
process.
says, but are we safe there? Are we though? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. It feels like we are.
That's how
But
you identify security.
yeah. Yes, it feels like that, but it's definitely not a safe place. It
Mm,
feels because the goal is, let me just guard myself so that I'm not hurt again, but that's not life. Even after we do walk into a level of freedom, which I'm so grateful to God that I done myself. We do ourselves a lot of disservice by not allowing ourselves to go through the healing process.
yes,
Once we just open up to God, you know,
absolutely.
because when we close ourselves, thinking that we're closing ourselves to people, we're also closing ourselves to God
Well, that's good. That's right.
because we're just closed. And that means, we're not allowing not even him in. And we don't realize that because we think, well, only God. can get that part of me. But how if it's closed? So when I came to that realization for me, that's when I decided, you know what, I want to be healed for real, and I want to be happy.
Mm.
So that's when I finally got to the place where I said, you know what, now what do you have to do? Stop pointing the finger about at who hurt you and who did this.
That's right.
Now come to the realization that you are walking into a level of freedom, and now with this level of freedom, you have to forgive.
That's right.
Because when you hold all of that stuff in, it's toxic. And we think we're justified. I remember I used to feel as if I was justified at being angry. Like I have the right to be mad. You did
Yes.
me dirty. So why should I let that go? Why should I
Yes.
let it go? It's my right. But it's not our right to hold on to it when it's doing inner turmoil and inner
Absolutely.
damage. So this is really, 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 really
You
enlightening. I'm telling you, I just yeah, look at this is Peyton Andy. She said say that. Yes.
awesome.
Yeah, that's my we grew up together. It's so good to see her. I'm just so grateful.
Oh,
I'm
I
so
see my
grateful.
tea.
We need to let it all go. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
And it holds us hostage. You guys are really talking. Yes, healing is a journey and a process. It definitely is. It definitely is. And once you're free, I'm telling you, it is the greatest feeling in the world.
Hmm.
In the world. In
Absolutely.
the world.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
let's go to the next question as our time is progressing. And you know us, we can go on forever. Um, You told me some time ago, which really blessed me. Like it, I'm telling you, when we had this conversation some years ago, when we got reconnected, and I wanted you to share this with people. And you said it was one of our Let's Talk sessions. I've started doing these conferences and seminars and Let's Talk sessions from decades ago. And I'm so grateful that even through it all, I almost didn't find my way back to doing the very thing that I love to do. And I'm just so grateful that we're here tonight. This is amazing. But
Yes.
where it stemmed from was, great times in the Lord that we had and growing and so young and doing ministry and still going through changes back then.
Yes.
But God has allowed us to have, because see, what we got to realize is a lot of what happened had to happen. And
Yes.
so,
Absolutely.
if I resented what I've been through then, I would not be who I am now. I could not
Facts.
breed the wisdom that I have now based on what I've been through then. So it was necessary. But back then, we had a Let's Talk session, and I want you to talk about what happened to you at that session. And you actually had told me, and I was in tears because I never knew how that event affected you. So share with us what happened.
My sister, Pastor Kenyatta Coffee, she was a part of the ministry, the women's ministry that you had, used to hold at High Times. And
Yes.
I loved you. You was always one of my I loved you since a child. Like I always like you were so inspirational to me. And she said, "Well, come on and go with me. I'm going to this, this program tonight, this women's program tonight, at Pastor Hill's ministry, blah blah blah." So I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going," because it was at your. And when we got there, I don't remember the woman of God name who was speaking that night, but
Mhm.
I do remember what happened. And I remember um, Pastor Coffee and I was sitting on the right hand side. I remember exactly where we were sitting.
Yeah.
And I remember she was given a testimony that night about how when she was younger, her mom left her with a friend of the family, something of that nature, while her mom went to the store. And I remember her saying that the man um, sodomized her.
Mhm.
And after he sodomized her, he took her and threw her in the tub. She was bleeding and, what have you, and told her, wash off. And if you say anything, I think she said she was about 9, 8. And she said that he had said to her, if you say anything to your mother when she comes back, I'm going to kill your mother.
Mm.
And she said she was so afraid that this man was going to hurt her mom that she kept it to herself. And after that, I just bellowed out. I remember Pastor Coffee was sitting next to me, and I just grabbed myself and I just went down and I said, I was raped.
Mm.
And I remember Ken, she grabbed me and she held me. And I was just so, it was an awakening for me. It wasn't like I didn't know that it had happened. I buried it.
Mm. Yeah.
I buried it within. Um, and when she gave her testimony, it became real all over again for me. And I remember sharing with you, Dr. Hill, about how when we're younger and we smell cookies, it reminds us of grandma's house or mom's
Yeah.
cooking. And I used to get arrested by my toxic past, when I go into certain places, depending on what something looked like or what something smelled like. And I remember going into a beauty store, and I was by myself and I stood suspended, frozen in the middle of the aisle. Okay. It was almost like I was there by myself. No one else existed. And it was like I just snapped to and came to myself, all because I
Mm.
excuse me,
Mm.
or because I had smelt Dax grease, because that's what the individual used to sodomize me with,
Mm.
when I was a child.
Mm. Mm.
I can remember the blue one, the green one,
Mhm.
because that's what we used in my house. I lived with my grandmother,
Mhm.
and that's what he used, um, you know, to penetrate me. And everything would come back alive again, just
Mm.
from the smell,
Wow.
pain, the verbal abuse in that situation, the and again, remember we talked about imploding, exploding, trigger points. That's what brought me to a place of not trusting, because um he was young as well, but he would use toys and things to draw me and say, well, come on, let's play.
Mhm.
And we went from playing to me being molested,
Mm.
and he would use that to lure me. And then once he has me, he's hurting me.
Mhm.
And so now, I got older and my trust factor is on zero.
Yeah.
you know I don't trust anyone.
Mhm.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
As I said, it's still a process. I will not tell a lie and tell you I am completely there. I don't think I'll ever be completely there, because even the word of God tells you, do not put your trust in man, but you trust to some degree, right?
Right.
I'm trying to get to the place of trusting to some degree.
Mhm. Yeah. Let me look at this here. Cherie said something so powerful as you were speaking. She says many women are affected by child sexual abuse of their past who don't tell. Who
It is
don't
true.
tell. And yeah. And what I will say is, and oh, wait, let me show this what she said here. Many men who were once boys too. Yeah, it's the truth. It's the truth. I thank God for your sharing and your transparency. And as
Yeah.
you forestated, um, this is what heals us. You know,
Yes, absolutely.
there's a level of healing that God has given unto you. um, there's a level of freedom, and even back then we had these, like you're reminding everybody that these are the types of services and the types of uh, times that we spent together, to share, not to gossip, but to share and heal one another. And
Absolutely.
and even on Wednesdays, like just to show we still do this, just to show others that we still do this. We have every Wednesday at 7 o'clock an open forum called the Round Table. And we get on the phone and we talk. The Round Table Talk is an open forum held every Wednesday on Zoom at 7 o'clock to discuss life, right? We've often heard the phrase, hurt people. But our
Yeah.
goal and our concentration is to do what? Promote how healed people can heal people.
So good.
This is what it's all about. We want to heal people. And this that God is allowing you to share with us today is a healing mechanism because, as you forestated, it is a constant journey.
Yeah, and Dr. Hill, I just wanted to add because I see so many people in the chat line. It's just, it's so true that how so many don't tell. And believe it or not, my mom passed away never knowing that I had been molested as a child because I never told her.
Mm,
And so it and I decided, and this is where it became that pivotal moment for me in my life and in my walk, that no one will ever put their hands on my mouth and tell me to shut up and take what they give me ever again. And I have decided to allow God to use me as a
mm.
voice of healing to so
Oh,
many out there.
Jesus. Hallelujah. Yes, thank you, Toya. She said, this is good. There seems to be a lot of us that never said anything. Yes,
Yes,
Lord.
Toy.
Yes. And I'm grateful because God is allowing healing to take place right now. Now that God has started your healing process, my healing process. We
Absolutely.
continue to talk about it because see, we keep overlooking stuff. We can become over spiritualized and everything. Just go
That
on
is true.
about it. We need to
Yes,
sit down and talk about it. We need to have a
I
conversation.
believe in it.
And it's not to bash anyone. It's
Oh,
so that we can free ourselves because again,
unlock
hurt
that prison. Come on,
people hurt
people.
people. Hurt people hurt people. And so when we
Facts.
learn that God has created a space for us to get past a lot of things, you know, in life
That's right.
by being properly taught how to deal with it and listen to others that have
That's right.
come forward and have the courage to say where they are. That's what it's all about.
Facts.
So now that you have I want to share something. This is something we talked about. I want you to share how this came about because now that God has given you a space of healing, a space of joy, you now have essential elements for
For
life.
life.
And we talked about this, and I want you to explain how this even came about to do pop-ups, a pop-up creative what?
Dialogue.
Dialogue live broadcast. Tell us what this represents.
Well, I remember when we were talking, and we were talking about doing tonight's show, and I said to you, I said, well, I'm in the process of putting together my next in terms of ministry. I just gotta kind of get it down pat. I'm just not quite there yet. But
Mhm,
I was like, do me the next week. We'll wait. And you said, as you do, you was like, listen, we're just gonna go up there. Even look, even if it's a pop up. You may not know when or whatever, but even if it's a pop-up, let's get, because you're in the works, let's get something out there. And I remember hanging up the phone with you, and I remember God just dropping it in my spirit, you know yeah.
yeah.
I'm like, wow, yeah, a pop-up broadcast, because I'd never heard of it. Don't know if it's out there. I just never heard of it. I've heard of pop-up shops, you know what I'm saying? But a pop-up broadcast?
Yeah.
I'm like, God, how does that look? And so I knew that was God, because I've been doing ministry for over 30 years, and I have been doing virtual ministry for maybe the past 5 or 6 years. But
Hmm.
I was never consistent. I would do it for a couple of years and then I would stop because, as I stated in the beginning, I'm so busy. I have so much
Yeah.
going on, that I often got messed up being distracted with my timing, doing so many different businesses or what may have you. So when God says, yes, pop up ministry, you'll come and you'll let them know, maybe a day or whatever, two prior to that. And whatever I give you, you speak. And I said, yes, Lord, I love it.
Mm.
I'm in, you
That's
know.
it.
And so I told my, I said, Ma, guess what? When you said pop up, God dropped it in my spirit and I went right to work
Yes,
in
yeah,
2 days.
and I was saying that to you too. I said, "You know what? I know your schedule. I know what you deal with. I know this, but I also know the value that you bring
Often,
and how God really, really wants to use you to share with so many people." But when I tell you, when we came up with that pop-up, I said, "Now this is customized right where you are. So when the inspiration falls upon you, you can go right ahead, and whether you be in the car, whether you and outside, sitting outside,
yes,
wherever
yes,
you are, and the Lord drops that inspiration. And I want to encourage you all today, whatever inspiration God gives to you, make
absolutely.
sure you just go for it. Why? Because that inspiration can become stale when we don't move in God's timing. That's why you were able to go and produce that flyer in like less than minutes. God gave it to you. He gave it to you. He gave it to you. And so I'm so so happy about that. I want to see this as we wiring down to our up to our hour just that quick. Um,
Awesome.
Peyton, her name is really Cynthia, but she says this was a blessing for me and will help me with my healing process. Thank you,
Awesome.
Lord, for this podcast. Now
Awesome.
that right there lets us know that it's needed and that we're doing what it is that God has called us to do, and it's necessary. It's necessary. I'm so excited that you guys are on here, and I really give God praise for all of you. If you had 1 minute to share with everyone with regarding everything that you've been through, your journey. I know you even have another nice flyer here. Uh-huh. Essential.
Yes, my cousin.
Yeah. And
That's
that's
my cousin,
beautiful.
Anne LaShawn. She did it. Yes.
She's amazing with her hands. And then of course we have our retreat coming up April the
Yes.
4th through the 6th.
Awesome.
You guys don't want to miss it. You need to retreat. You need to come. You need to hear
Yes.
and
Yes.
see exactly what we do and how come we're so excited about this ministry and how God is blessing us. So you guys got to really check it out. You got to really check it out. But just uh, as we wrap up, give us just a few minutes, 1 minute if you can, of your journey and how important it is for the people to understand um, this process of my response. The response was due to what was buried in me, the importance of really working toward, getting this stuff out of you and how well
Yes.
you're doing. And as a counselor now and as someone that's very transparent, they too can get delivered. Give them some advice of measures that they can take as well.
Well, I would say, I speak and I teach metaphorically, but in life, there may be a neighborhood of issues, that we go through. Sometimes you are stuck on the boulevard of being bound and the avenue of anxiety between the street of stress, whatever the situation may be. I just want to say to somebody out there today, no matter what you're going through in life, no matter what position you may find yourself in life, just know that only you and you only have the power to shift your posture in life.
Mm,
And for me, I was able and still operating in that vein of doing so by just living a lifestyle of prayer,
mm,
having a lifestyle of prayer. So I would say through that, I have obtained power and peace,
mm,
the authority to speak to my storms, not only chase them, but now I'm speaking to them
mm, mm, mm.
and having that peace of God that He gives me on the inside and not looking for it from the outside. So I
Awesome.
would say developing a lifestyle of prayer.
Yeah. Amen. That's awesome. Develop a lifestyle of prayer. This has blessed us. This has been so good. Again, our hour is up. Thank you so much,
Awesome.
family.
Thank you.
We
Love you
intend
all.
on being here again. We love you, Pastor, and you've
You
done.
love
Thank
you.
you for your transparency. You are an absolutely amazing woman of God. Y'all give her a hand as she is dismissed at this time. Thank you. I love you. Again, guys, thank you so much. I want you to continue to share the word. Get it out, get it out, get it out. Every Monday, we're going to be on talking, sharing, being transparent. And I want you to look forward to, we're going to bring some of us to, so you can get a taste of the round table. So you're going to see a few of us, so some chapter presidents. You're going to see a few of us on to give you a taste of what we do on Wednesdays at 7 o'clock on the round table, just so you can see what we do, how we talk, how much fun we have, how the Lord shows up and has his way. So you guys have a great night. Check out our website. That's right. I tell you, I got some awesome people here. Check out our website. Okay, check out our website. Here's our website. I need you to check it out. Write it down. Here it is, Faith Builders. WAG.com for all the updates. Check it out. Get some information. All right. Ways to give. Some people inquired, how can we be a blessing? Those that can sow a $10 seed, this is the way you do it. Just sow a seed on what you heard tonight. We got some great things in store that we're trying to do. Sow that seed at $ Detra Hill 299 to help us continue the work of the Lord. Every dime counts. That's how we believe. So we trust and believe that God is going to have his way. And certainly we will see you again this time next week. Share, let a person know. And until then, God bless you. And we love you very much. Have a good night.